Welcome to Project Car Media and welcome back to the Nissan 200SX SER project. Today is going to be part 3 where we continue on with the maintenance. We're going to be doing brake rotors and pads in the front and then replace those 2 bad wheel studs that I found in the previous video. And then we're going to unplug the battery for a while, let that check engine light clear out and see if we can take this thing for a drive. Put everything back together and go cruise around and just see how it runs. So stick around. All right, so let me show you guys what we have here. I did pick up some wheel studs. Unfortunately, I had to buy a pack of like 10. I couldn't just buy 2, but that's okay because if we find any more, then we can definitely replace those. And then we've got our brake pads and our brake rotors here. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started on this. Now, before we get started, I just went ahead and removed the battery and just set it right here for now. This will get it unplugged and it'll have plenty of time to drain out that check engine light. But as you can see, I got a better view of the headlights here, and when you take one out, they are HID bulbs for sure. So these are going to have to come out when we do the lighting on that. And then before I put the battery back in, I'm going to go ahead and vacuum all this out. We're not doing the cleaning just yet, but since the battery probably won't come back out again, I'll clean this up too. Well, I totally forgot to hit record when I started doing the brakes. So I started on the passenger side and obviously got the rotor off, I got the caliper off and everything. I was able to hammer out the 2 bad studs and replace them with the good studs. What I had to do to put these in is I had to slip this on and then thread on the lug nut, which pushed up against the hub and actually pulled the stud in all the way up to the back. So I did that on both sides, and so yeah, now we're good to put the new rotor on, put the new pads in the caliper, put that all back together, then this side will be done. All right, we got the new rotor in, the new studs in, and we got new pads as well. We're using the existing caliper. Everything is done on the passenger side, and so I'm going to go ahead and do the driver's side, and then after that, we will go ahead and put the battery back in, get the wheels back on, and see if we can take this thing for a drive. All right, both sides are done. We got the passenger side with the new studs. We got the driver's side with its new rotor. So now I'm going to put the battery back in the tray, get this thing started, and we'll go for a test drive to see how it drives with the new brakes and the new oil. But first, I need to vacuum this out. Okay, moment of truth here. Let's see if the check engine light comes on. No check engine light so far. That is great. Engine sounds good. It's running nice and smooth. And yeah, so let's go take it for a drive, let it warm up, and then we'll see if the check engine light comes back. It still kind of runs like it used to. It's a little bit smoother, and there is no check engine light. It does sputter a little bit at low RPMs, and the brakes feel really good. And yeah, I mean, other than that, the engine's nice and quiet. There is no check engine light anymore, at least not yet. As you can tell, it's starting to get warm. And yeah, I mean, it's driving pretty good. I only have 3 lug nuts on one wheel, and that's because I messed up a lug nut while putting on the new stud. That's a whole other thing. So I'm gonna have to buy some new lug nuts, which I was planning on doing anyway because I didn't want the Gorilla lug nuts on here. Clutch feels good. The new brakes feel good. Yeah, new brakes are great actually. Yeah, so he kind of sputters a little bit when you're taking off still. So I do have some MAF cleaner. I was thinking about maybe cleaning the MAF. It's probably really dirty from being open pretty much for who knows how long. just to kind of help with that. But yeah, I mean, let's head back to the garage and we'll talk about what we did. All right, we have made it back from our little test drive. Now, the car ran really good. I mean, it ran much better than it used to, and it's a lot more smooth. There's no check engine light. I drove it around for a little while to get up to operating temperature. Still no check engine light, so that is great news. What isn't great news is that after I stopped recording, I decided to give it some beans just to see how well the engine really is running. And as soon as I got above 50% throttle, the whole car just like fell on its face. So that's something I didn't know before that I just found out. That could be the mass airflow sensor being dirty. That could be a vacuum leak. This car does have a half tank of gas. That could be very, very old gas. It could be the spark plug wire that didn't replace. It could be a lot of different things. So I'm going to have to dive into that a little bit more on the next video probably. But for now, we're going to move on to lighting. We do need them if we're going to drive this thing over to Peak Innovation Motorsports next video to get the exhaust fixed, to get the new tires on. So we need to get those lights working. I told you in the first video that the headlights don't work at all. We just need to get these working. Now, one thing that I did change was that I actually swapped the headlight bulbs and the front turn signal bulbs for LED bulbs, just because the rear tail lights and the rear turn signals were already LEDs. And I thought, you know, that would make everything look really good if we had LEDs all the way around. So we're going to go ahead and get these lights installed, take out the old harness and those old HIDs. I also got an LED flasher relay just to make sure that the lights flash normally once they're installed. And then we'll be ready for the road. I do live in the Northwest and it is wintertime, so it's typically always raining and dark, and so lights are a must. Again, let's go over the bulbs that I got. These are the new LED headlights that I traded the halogen bulbs for. These are the backup lights. We got 2 new halogen fog lights. We're going to go with LED turn signal lights. This is the LED flasher relay that I got. And then we have some license plate lights right here. These are what came in the turn signal and the brake light in the back, and these are LEDs as well. So we're going to retain these in the back and then install LEDs in the front. Before I go and put the bulbs back into the side lights and to the headlights, I did actually get a set of new headlights and corner lights that I was going to save for the aftermarket part. And I thought that they were black housed, and so I thought that'd be a cool little OEM plus bit, but turns out they are actually just like an OEM replacement. So I'm just going to go ahead and install those new headlights right now and corner lights, and then we'll put the new bulbs in and see what it looks like. It'll probably look a lot better. Let me show you these headlights. Here's one of the headlights. As you can see, it's just like an OEM replacement, but it's so much better looking than what we have in there. Let's go ahead and get these in along with the new corner lights, and then we'll throw in the new bulbs in the headlights, and then we'll move to the fog lights. Okay, so we've got all of this passenger side wiring out. As like, here's the bulb and everything. This is like all one big harness, and it looks like this might be the stock plug for the passenger side, I'm thinking. So luckily that's still intact. So let's see if we can get this harness runs all the way along. So I'm going to see if I can get this out, and then we'll end up dealing with that side over there. All right, well, as fate would have it, I got all of the passenger side wiring out, just to find out that I'm pretty sure they clipped the plug off to wire in this harness for the HIDs. Yeah, that's really bad news. That means that I have to somehow find a Sentra or a 200SX somewhere where I can clip the headlight wiring and wire it back in right here. I don't see another way for me to get the headlight working on this side. So unfortunately, that sucks. And that's just one of those things that, you know, when you get these cars, you never know what you're going to run into. Hopefully it's a smooth restore, but you always end up running into problems like this. As you guys can see right here, these are the 3 wires. I had to clip them. Now the old harness and the old HIDs are out, but this is what I'm left with for the driver's side headlight. Basically, I need to find a junkyard Sentra or 200SX and clip its headlight plug out and then wire it into these wires, and then I should be good. But I can't seem to find one anywhere. So unfortunately, I think the driver's side is going to have no headlight for a little while until I figure this out. Okay, so even more bad news. This plug sure looks a lot like the plug that was on the HIDs that I literally just cut out of the car. And so I went back to that harness in the garbage and I pulled out one of the pigtails. This side right here is the end that I cut. This side is the side that goes into the plug, and it's the same style that my LED bulbs have. So all I would have had to done is unplug these, plug them into the new LED bulb, and that would have worked. But since I cut these, now I need to like re-splice them back in. Well, I went ahead and re-spliced these wires back in using butt connectors. So I'm just going to put electrical tape over these just so they're protected from the weather. And then I'm just going to reuse these to plug into the LED bulb here, which is right here. And as you can see, this is the same exact style plug as that blue one that I cut off. And these are actually 9004 plugs. I've never really dealt with a car with 9004 plugs. So yeah, I just didn't recognize the plug and I accidentally cut it off. But anyway, I'm gonna plug these wires into this headlight and we should be good to go over here. Okay, many hours have passed since I did the driver's side headlight. I went ahead and used the old plug here to plug into the passenger light and everything was working. I had the LED headlights working, but for whatever reason, the corner lights were just on all the time and the turn signals did not work. Even after installing the LED flasher relay, this issue still occurred. So I thought something might have been grounded. And then I took a closer look at this plug. As you can see, it's like melted on one side. And I think it was like that before I plugged it in. I don't remember why I didn't think anything of it, but I thought, okay, well, that's the problem. That's what's going on. So I clipped this plug off, and as I was looking at the plug, I know you guys can't see, but on the bottom here under the wires, it actually says Ford. So they, for some reason, spliced this plug in back in the day to use for headlights, I guess. Anyway, I got rid of this one, and I went to the auto parts store and bought a 9004 plug with a pigtail on it, and then I wired in down here the correct wires, the correct pin out and everything, and plugged it into the LED bulb here. So the driver's side wires were pinned out correctly and wired correctly. The passenger side headlight wires were pinned out correctly and wired correctly. The issue still happened. So then I thought, well, maybe it has something to do with the LED bulbs. So I went back down to the auto parts store and bought all halogen bulbs, which was like $50. I know I shouldn't have done that, but I was irritated. So I got like halogen bulbs for the tail lights, the headlights, the corner lights, and I thought, well, I'm just going to replace everything with halogen bulbs, put the stock flasher relay back in, and see what happens. And when I did that, the headlights came on like normal. The corner lights actually only lit up one filament like they were supposed to, and everything looked like it was working great. But as soon as I hit the turn signal, the turn signal fuse would pop every single time. And so I decided to start with all of the corner lights unplugged. The rear turn signals, the front turn signals, unplugged all of them from the connector right here. And then I went and started the car and I plugged one in at a time and tested the turn signals, and I found the culprit. It is actually on the driver's side over here. So this is what I found over here. I found this big glob of electrical tape around this, and I undid all the electrical tape and I found this basically. So the ground wire and the turn signal wire are like spliced into these connectors for some reason. I have no idea why. They weren't touching in that bundle of electrical tape. So I still don't know exactly what is causing this ground, but I know it's on this side because when this is unplugged, all the turn signals work and the fuse does not pop. The passenger side also has this too. So I'm really without a multimeter, which I don't have one. I had a multimeter, but it broke. So I've been doing all this troubleshooting without a multimeter. And at this point, I'm kind of out of ideas. And so when I take this car over to Peak Innovation Motorsports, that is just one more thing I'm going to have him take a look at with his multimeter, see if he can find the ground that's causing this issue. And then we're gonna try to put in the LED bulbs all the way around and make sure that it works. For now, I can put the LED bulbs back in the headlights, leave the halogen bulbs in the turn signals, and actually just unplug this turn signal, and I'll be able to drive with headlights and turn signals over to Peak Innovation Motorsports. But I've been chasing this issue for hours, and obviously I spent another $50 on bulbs. So it's been just kind of a nightmare here. It's definitely been a challenge, and I'm glad I narrowed it down to just this side right here. Anyway, now that I have the new headlights in, I'm gonna put the corner lights back in, we'll turn on the lights, and I'll show you guys just how much better this car looks with the new headlights. All right, that is gonna do it for this episode. We did get a lot of stuff done in this video. We got the new brake rotors on, the new brake pads, replaced those two bad wheel studs on the passenger side, got the LED headlights in, replaced the actual headlights and corner lights, which by the way looks 1,000,000 times better. And then we also got all the other lighting working, although we do have some kind of grounding issue in the driver's side corner light area. So in the next video, we're gonna take this car on its maiden voyage over to Peak Innovation Motorsports. They're gonna put it up on the lift and fix the exhaust, fix the power steering line. Now they're going to look into the grounding issue on the driver's side corner light area, as well as mount and balance the new tires that I got for the car. So definitely stick around for that episode. It'll be really fun to see if we can make it all the way across town to Peak Innovation Motorsports in the car. All the lights do work. It does drive, decent. So we should be able to make it over there, no problem. I also got some new lug nuts that we'll throw on before the trip. Now, I did link all of the products down in the description below, so if you guys want to take a look at them, most of the stuff I got from Amazon. Thank you so much for continuing to watch this series. It's really fun watching this car slowly transform back into a car. When I got it, it was in such poor shape, and it still is in pretty bad shape, but slowly but surely I'm restoring this back to its former glory. I really love the challenge of working on this car. There's been a lot of people that have hit me up showing their love for these cars, and it's kind of fun just to bring this thing back to life. I feel like I kind of saved it from the junkyard. Once the car is clean and it's got new tires and new brakes and the engine's running good, it's gonna be a really fun little car. And then at that point, I'm gonna have to decide, do I go a little bit further and fix the clear coat and remove the tint and stuff like that, or just leave it? So definitely some decisions to make. For now, let's just focus on getting the car running great. So thank you again so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next video.